All right, all right. So good morning, everyone. Good morning, Christine. It's so great to see you this morning.
I know. Good morning, Tina. Lovely to see you too.
I just love this series so much. In fact, I cannot wait to actually dive into it with all of my teams. I was sitting there thinking as we started to download the entire module on this with the assessment. And by the way, everyone will have access to that as well. So we've been doing this 6-part series on blind spots, and we're calling this
Oh,
the Leadership Self-Awareness Assessment. And it is, it's all about self-awareness, right, Christine?
mhm. It is. It is a lot. And it's I think it's okay to have blind spots as long as you know, get feedback, work on them, know that they exist, right? Because
Yeah. Yeah. Most people don't know their blind
yeah.
spots, right? And so that's the scary part. In fact, I was just talking to my COO of our companies, and he said, I hate when I'm blindsided. And I said, I do too. I do too. And you know what? And it's
It's
still
such a terrible feeling, isn't it?
it's a terrible feeling. And I think as we unpack today, I think it's going to help it all come together why we have blind spots. And
Hmm.
so we've been talking about the six blind spots that most leaders have. The first one we talked about, the first of the series was communication. Then we talked about emotional intelligence, then listening. Then we talked about feedback and growth. And then we talked last week about influence and relationships. And now this week, the last week, we're talking about empowerment. And ironically, that's what we're called, Empowered
Hmm.
Salon Leaders. And we believe that this is the key to becoming an incredible leader. And I don't know about you, Christine, but I've seen a lot of our leaders really struggle with this because they are holding so tightly to their title. They
Hmm.
don't want to lose their title, but what they don't realize is they're holding so tightly that they're going to lose it if they don't empower. And so this is the key to leadership. And so I'm going to read these 4 areas that you can grade yourself on. So once again, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 5. 1 is never, 2 is rarely, 3 is sometimes, 4 is often, 5 is consistently. So here's number 1. I delegate effectively without micromanaging. So grade yourself on that, 1 to 5. Number 2 is I allow others to make mistakes and learn from them. Number 3, I trust my team to take ownership of responsibilities. And number 4, I focus on developing people, not just getting results. So here we go. Let's unpack these. So the first one is I delegate effectively without micromanaging it. And something I wrote down is provide support, not control. So be available for coaching and questions without constantly checking in or taking over. This is a really a balancing act, right? As a leader. And I started to really think about this because the problem that I see with most leaders, and I've seen this in myself many times, is we don't have enough check-in points to provide
Hmm.
that support. So sometimes, and I've done this, I abdicate responsibility and just hand off. And instead of staying with them and supporting them truly. And I think sometimes people think that support means that they're controlling. And so, but what controlling means to me, and I've seen this in leaders, and I don't do this as much because I'm not as smart as my staff, but I'll see them because they're so smart and they're so good at a task that they'll just take it back over if it's not done right instead of staying with them fully. And sometimes I'll say, listen, and we were just talking through this process actually because we had a leader that failed in their leadership position, and we realized that we abdicated the responsibility, so to speak, and we didn't support. And so we're stepping back and saying, okay, how can we better support this person and to really walk them through and build, we'll talk about this in a minute, but build that psychological safety so they're free to share when they're overwhelmed, which I hate
Yeah.
that word. But what
And
we have to give them space, right, Christine?
this is so true, Tina. And I think that if we ask the right questions to find out where they are in the process with something, I feel like we don't really have to do too much work. All we have to understand is what do they know
Yeah,
and what are they missing?
yeah, it's good. Yeah, I think I go too much into telling mode and just keep talking too much with them. And instead, just like ask a question and then shut up.
Hmm.
So that's an area that I'm working on.
Yeah, it's definitely an area that I'm working on because I also think because of the work that we've done, I assume that people know more than they do and they know more about the path of leadership. They understand that because we know, we've done so much work and sometimes I'm way ahead and
Yeah,
not realizing that they may not know those things as
absolutely.
well.
Yeah, slow down.
Slow down. Yeah, yeah.
Slow down. Most leaders struggle with that, right? So
Hmm.
myself. And so number two is I allow others to make mistakes and learn from them, which I'm so excited because John Maxwell just wrote a book called Return on Failure. And I'm excited to dive into that. I bought that book,
Mm.
all of our leaders, and we're going through another mastermind right now, but after that we're going to go through that. But I'm hoping that will create psychological safety, Christine, because I always say, like, let's have failure parties. Like, I have a culture of let's have a failure party kind of thing, but I think that book, if we really, dive into it together, it's going to open up a little bit more conversations too. So I'm really excited about that. But I wrote down it creates by doing that the psychological safety. And that has been on my mind for many, many, many years. And
Hmm.
I wrote teams innovate and take initiative when they know mistakes become learning opportunities rather than reasons for punishment. And
Mm.
like, how are you responding and how are you supporting? And that's the area that I'm really not just working with myself to have that safety, but also with all of our leaders in our 9 companies. It's hard.
It is, and I think that people want to do well, and I think when we find out why are people either falling short or making mistakes, because I think, like you say, Tina, all the time, people are doing the best job that they can
Yeah.
with the resources that they have.
Yeah.
And so when we're usually what I'm understanding in my company right now, it usually comes from the lack of clarity and the lack of accountability
Yeah.
that is happening within the organization. They either don't know what they're supposed to do, even though, it's so interesting because when you think about them making a mistake on their job role or, whatever it is, are they clear on the expectation or the what they're accountable for? Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, so true. Because what's on their mind, what they think is important is completely different than what you think it is. And so that's again, those constant check-ins and the constant, like you said, questions, what do you think is most important? And so we have to get better at this, Christine. This is so good. And then number three is I trust my team to take ownership of responsibilities. This is probably the hardest area that as a leader and our leaders struggle with their leaders. And they've
Mm,
told me such because they'll say that they just constantly blame. They never say those 3 magic words. And years ago, I learned this from my coach, and I'll never forget. It was Kelly Cardenas. He was my coach at that time. And he said 3 words that shifted and transformed my leadership. And I wrote it down, and I remember writing it down, Christine, and it was, it's my fault.
mm,
And it was so big because I stopped blaming from that point forward. I didn't
mhm,
I stopped looking at other people for my failures.
And well, you probably started to real started to trace the chain.
It goes right back to me. And there's John Maxwell words, everything falls, falls in on leadership, right?
Yeah,
Right. And falls on
the
leadership.
stinky fish.
Yeah, it's just like stinks from the down, and I'm like, dang it, where did I make the mistake? And so, which goes back to like the constant questions: what do I need to stop doing, and what do I need to start doing as
This
you're
is
leading?
one of our values is I actually reassessed my values, but only I narrowed it down to three, and ownership is one of them.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's interesting you brought that up on the values because I was just doing a course on values and how so many times companies get it wrong because they'll list the value, but they don't have the clarity points underneath that value. Like as
Hmm.
an example would be professional always, but
Yeah.
they don't have exactly what professional means to them because what professional means to us, Christine, in our generation is completely different
Yeah.
than the
Yes.
generation now. And so
You
it's
have to spell it
really,
out.
which I wrote down as setting specific expectations and then step back. So again, to be clear is to be kind. We talk about that all the
Yeah.
time. Accountability does not require hovering. It requires inspection and clarity and follow through. So don't expect what you don't inspect. And what I'm saying when I say that is not it's not hovering. It's just, check-ins,
Yeah. And
right?
it's check-ins. And I think too, um, I know for me, there's a big discovery that's happening right now in this process of ownership is we're asking for people to take ownership and responsibility. And we may have a manual, an orientation manual, but is that manual actively living in our organization? Like, is it something that is a living and breathing process, or is it in a manual and it's something that they sign when they start
Shelf.
and then they're not looking at? And what we did was we took that out and we said, what are our 20 biggest challenges? Our team's blind spots, our blind spots, and let's pull them up front and center and let's just focus on those in our so that everybody's clear. So I think, that piece that you said is the very, very specific, clear expectations is so important, but where are they?
Yeah. Where are they? Yeah, let's dust them off, right? And we said that too. We're like, we got to bring that out. And I was coaching a salon owner recently on this, Christine, and it was the same situation. I said, let's dust it off. Let's make it pretty. Let's put it out. Let's talk about it every day until you
Mhm,
guys are exhausted from talking
mhm.
about it. We actually created assessments and awards over our culture values in the very beginning, Christine. And now we're realizing in our company we need to bring that back out,
Yeah.
do it again. So rinse and repeat.
And Tina, I don't know if you've ever felt like this, but sometimes I've felt like, well, I didn't do it before, so now I have to have this grand meeting and go over the whole manual
No,
and it's like,
no, no.
we don't have to do that.
Little tiny steps, tiny steps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that so much because one of the things that I'm doing with this salon owner, she's been in business for a lot of years, has been very successful, but wants to scale. And that's exactly what she's doing. So we're actually starting fresh with, hey, let's talk through some of what we think should be non-negotiables with us,
Mm,
almost creating a new document, but adapting the old document to the new document, so to speak. So it's kind
yeah.
of again, rinse and repeat. Let's like lather up again.
Yep.
Let's refresh ourselves. Like, oh yeah, that's one of our values, you guys. Let's talk through that. So this week that'll be our focus,
Wow. I
just
love it.
tiny steps. Number 4 is the last one is I focus on developing people, not just getting results. This was my transformation period when I
Hmm.
was a
This
Maxwell
is
leadership coach. This was everything,
ah,
everything. So I'm a result orientated leader. I'm a high D on the disc scale. I know you are too, Christine, but
this is I'm having such a discovery around this right
my team is not. And this is where I'm like, so it's, I wrote down measured growth as well as outcomes, celebrate improvements in leadership, communication, decision making, and confidence, not just numbers. And I'm working with the leader right now, and I really want to help her to not to grow through get the return on failure that she had recently, but also to grow through that. So I want to help build back up her confidence, but not so much that she becomes so prideful of that and is afraid of making mistakes again. Because she like it's almost like that once bitten, twice shy. And so
now.
I just want to be like, it's okay. Like this is great. I'm so glad that all this happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Hmm.
now,
How are we going to learn if we don't discover?
yeah, how can we measure it? So it's again, I think it just full circle goes back to psychological safety.
I have such a good discovery right now. All the NLP work that I have done over the years has really led me to discover that results come from thinking,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
It-
And however, even though I had all the training that results come from thinking and thinking drives behaviors and behaviors drive habits and all of those things, I still focus on results. So I'm still focusing on numbers. And I just want to say that in all the training that I've had, I'm still focusing on an end result and not what's driving the performance. And
Yeah.
what's driving the performance is people's thinking. And so when we see that the numbers are not shifting,
Yeah.
what beliefs do they have around themselves and what beliefs do they have around the process that they're creating? Because what I was doing was I kept measuring the same thing over and over. And I'm doing the team performance chart and now it looks pretty in AI and I'm saying the same things. And I'm
Mhm.
thinking to myself, why am I getting the same results? Because I'm doing the same exact thing. But I
Yeah.
really think this is so important because I am also results driven and I'm waiting for some results to shift. And I really had to start from like, well, what do they think about this?
Yeah. Yeah. It's that whole stinking thinking, right?
Yeah. And
It's all
where
about mindset. It's all about mindset.
and do they feel good about it? Like, what do they think about it? Because they might not even be feeling good or confident, like you said. Like,
Yeah,
so,
I had a really great team meeting with our leaders in one of our salons yesterday, Christine, and I stepped back to kind of just ask them like, what percentage are you behind the chair and what percentage are you working on the business as a
mm,
leader? And then I stepped back and I said, how do you feel about that? How are you feeling?
mm,
And I really did feel that every person, I hope I'm not blindsided by this, that they felt good about where they were at. And I said, you know, this is amazing because there was five of us on that call, one salon that are leaders of the salon, okay? And I'm coaching salon owners that it's just them that I'm coaching
mm,
right now. And I'm trying to get them to build this team. So no wonder these owners are so overwhelmed because they have no one to empower thanks to,
mm,
and they're stuck, and stuck stinks. And it goes back to exactly what you said, Christine. Mindset of the owner.
mm,
It starts with us. Everything rises and falls on our mindset. What does that look like? Do we really, really love people so much? Are we so secure that we can empower others to do what we do? Or are we just hanging on so tight to what we do
oh,
because
it's
of
so
our
true.
insecurity? Period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are we willing to do to let go? I mean,
Yeah.
all these things are so important, you
Yeah.
know? It's
Let go.
our freedom is the willingness to let go.
Yep, let go is our values in our empowered salon leader. And that was like a game changer for us.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
can you,
absolutely.
how can you,
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, Tina, this has been amazing series. I love it.
That's as much as we do.
Yeah, and we are going to put this assessment
Mhm.
right down below. So don't forget to like and subscribe to us. You
Yeah.
could follow us on Instagram as well and on Facebook, but we will have the assessment right here. So you could just click on it, download it, print it out. Um, Nuala did a beautiful job at putting it together, didn't you,
Well
Tina?
done, Nula. We surround ourselves with people. I surround myself with people smarter than me.
Yeah, me too. And then our next series is going to be on growth. And so this is actually, I think this for Tina, myself, and Nuala, this is very dear to our hearts. We all met at the John Maxwell leadership conference. And so, I think growth is definitely one of our top values. And I think for a lot of salon owners, it's their values, but how do we get our team to align with growth? And what is growth? Because, a lot of times we think about growth as being getting better at our skill. And so,
Yeah.
what does growth actually mean? And how does it play out in our companies and in ourselves as leaders? So, we are going to do a series on that. So, stay tuned, and we will see you next week, the same time, live. So, thanks
All
again,
right.
Tina.
Thanks, Christine. Bye, everyone. Thanks for